All right, so we're recording now. So, um, yeah, man, I don't know where to start. There's just so many things that you've talked about to you and me, through Messenger and just in person over the many years that I've known you. And I want to start capturing this stuff. Like I said earlier, it
Okay.
feels like a student eagerly trying to capture, the musings of a teacher. And I'm not trying to embellish you or inflate your ego, but that's essentially
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
So,
Right now I'm having trouble with these. I'm trying to do scales on a dragon. I'm teaching myself to use the iPad and a digital pencil. That's what I'm fucking with now, but I'm kind of stuck with that.
yeah, so this might be
Um,
a good break then. Um,
yeah.
I mean, there's so much we talk about. I mean, in the previous interview, I was actually pretty surprised that people were picking up on it. People were interested in it, and you
So
kind of
people liked it.
yeah, people are paying
Well,
attention.
what were they interested in?
I can just tell just by the plays, and some likes here and there. Let me see if I can pull the metrics as we're talking, but you alluded to a lot of stuff that most normal people just don't do or are familiar with, and I would
Yeah.
almost say it's kind of like the not like the dark side, but like you just have a specific, yeah, you had 57 views, but you have like a specific I don't know, you just exist in a realm that's different than most people, and that's
Yeah. It's the yeah. I try to find the bridge between science and spirituality, and it's kind of a hard road to tread because there's a lot of grifters and fake ass people, trying to, just all sorts of them.
like
And
like snake oil salesmen or people that don't know what they're talking
yeah,
about, or BSers, or like
yeah, exactly. And there's a huge parallel between the occult and martial arts. That's kind of what I've been focusing on lately because there's just so many parallels between them. And one of them is the read a couple books and you're a master type deal. Or once you reach a certain point, you won't learn anything else. It's the exact same kind of mind state. I thought that was interesting.
so
Um,
how did you I mean, there's so many ways we can go about this, so many tangents, and that's kind of why I've been pushing you for this. Is like, hey, let's say we're going to talk about um, the Bujinkan, you know, dojo, right? Let's say that's the topic of
uh-huh.
conversation, but then we veer off and we go into something completely different in outer space. That's fine. I mean, this is a needy
Yeah,
setup. I'm not going anywhere yet. You're not going anywhere yet. So, I mean, we'll let the conversations happen as they will. But with that preface, let's just kind of just start. Like, how did you even get into? I mean, is it fair to say the occult? Is that like an ignorant way to
yeah,
put it,
yeah.
or
It's the occult. Yeah, it's the left-handed path is what it's actually called.
so? How did
But
you?
that's kind of an umbrella term within uh, magic and spell work.
Okay,
It's like spirit work stuff, the metaphysical stuff.
right. Well, thank you for I guess qualifying that. So from now on, when I say the occult, I'm not trying to just say like, ooh, witchcraft. I'm just as a broad general term, so we can move forward.
Occult
That's what I mean.
literally means hidden or secret. It literally means secret. That's what occult means. And one thing that's interesting about the internet occult boom that's happening right now is all of these things that were occult are no longer occult because they're on the internet.
What's an
If that
example?
makes any sense to you, huh?
Um,
An example?
like yoga, maybe,
An
because
example? Um, not yoga, but what the areas that yoga comes from, like the like tantra. In fact, tantra in India means it means witchcraft. Basically, they use it interchangeably.
huh.
Um, but that's a completely different thing.
Well, the reason why I
Uh,
said yoga is like, there was a time I'm sure when people thought that was wild. That was like way too new age. We're really Eastern. I'm
mhm.
sure a bunch of the Christian folks thought that was probably
Oh yeah, that
bad.
was a big deal. They still make a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
I think just recently, like some cardinal at the Vatican said that possessions were up in Europe because of yoga. Yes, I swear, it's just funny.
Well, and that's the thing is like it's a household name now. You know, like everybody and their
Yeah,
mom knows what yoga
yeah,
is, and it's incorporated into the work lifestyle. Like people are like, hey, do yoga at the office, or it's just such a it's gone past, it's transcended past the occult, uh, for lack of a better word, stigma, and
yeah.
it's mainstream. So going back to that word occult, and like you were saying, there are a lot of things that existed kind of in the dark back in the day, but are commonplace now. So kind of rewinding back though, like how did you get involved? Like you said, there was a tie with martial arts, which is if people are just tuning in or just listening to you for the first time, you're very,
Hmm.
very deep rooted in the martial arts. And so what I'm trying to
Yeah,
extract
yeah.
out of you is a lot of that. So, but let's back up though. So let's rewind all the way to when you first got your first, I guess, taste or first foray into the occult. How did that work out? What brought you into it?
My parents raised me in what I call a pagan scientific way, meaning like they showed me the constellations in the sky and taught me the names of them, the constellations, like pointed them out and told the stories from different pantheons, like myths, legends.
Right.
And my dad's family, some of them were like these really uh, during the 80s there was that, in the 70s and 60s there was that new age movement that was really really shallow, you know what I mean, real cultish and shallow. And they were those kind of people, but they collected a lot of this pagan stuff from different cultures, and some of it kind of just was in my house. And, instead of a Bible we had the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Huh.
It's a joke I tell people, and it's true. I mean, it was on our coffee table.
Right.
Never read the damn thing, but so it's always kind of been there. And
So you're kind of just
I,
born into it then.
yeah, yeah. Generally, I tell people that my pastor was Carl Sagan, because my dad made me watch Cosmos every Sunday. Carl Sagan's Cosmos series when I was a little kid. So
So that,
yeah,
that sounds very practical, man. It doesn't sound, when you first said, when you first said like pagan scientific, I was like, oh, geez, like crystals and
oh no no
uh,
no no,
yeah, and
like
stuff like that. But I mean, that sounds practical. I mean, I love Cosmos. I love the repeat or the reboot with
yeah,
Neil deGrasse.
Tyson, Carl, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they kind of just taught you how to think freely, if you don't mind my.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah. Hell yeah. Another thing they did is they play a game where we had to memorize the periodic table, and in the periodic table again you see the names of the gods and stuff. They used that when I was a little kid to teach me the days of the week. Uh, what other kind of stuff did they teach? Oh, the Christmas tree. My dad taught me that what the Christmas tree stands for is the balls are planets. Wait, no, the tree is space. Like the darkness of the tree represents space. The balls are planets. All the other shaped ones are like quasars and pulsars, supernovas, and all those things. And the lights are stars, and the star at the top is the sun.
Huh.
And he told me, what did he say? He said that the reason they do that is because during the winter the sun's at its lowest, and they're praying for it to come back high in the sky so that'll spring will come.
That's crazy.
And yeah, that's the kind of thinking that I was raised with.
That's crazy. It's funny because I'm totally fact checking you right now. Not that I don't believe you, but for anybody that wants to do the homework, I'm on this website right now as we speak, saying the first recorded tree put up for Christmas can be found in 1510 in Latvia, and Slovakia. But they were saying exactly what you're saying. The tradition of putting trees in homes during wintertime, not just Christmas, goes back even further to the pagan times. And literally what you just said,
Yeah,
the tradition dates back to Roman times, with them doing so usually around the New Year celebrations. And let me see what I can say, because it literally just said, like you were telling me, they attribute it to lighten up the darkness for the wintertime, and all the decorations represent just the lights, like you said. That's crazy. Actually, I had no idea. I didn't know that. I knew like the Christmas tree had pagan roots, right? But I didn't know it was
yeah,
like that detailed.
yeah, yep,
And
yep.
That's insane, man. Like, and people, like, if you're a Christian and you're listening to this, like, don't flip out, but like, people would lose their minds if they found out that they were participating in a very paganistic
Oh yeah,
thing, but
everything
it's
about it
everywhere.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
you. It's actually it's two different holidays. I think in the north it was Yule, and in Rome in the Mediterranean it was Saturnalia, but the concept was the same. Uh, you partied your ass off because you died during winter. People died. It was literally like the end of the world. It could be because you didn't know if you're
Yeah.
gonna make it
What'd you
through
know?
winter. So you partied your ass off. Plus you got harvest. So that's the idea of it. And that's how I always treated it. Kind of.
That's crazy.
We're talking about Christmas, fucking middle of summer.
Yeah, and people are trying to pawn off like Christmas in July, and I mean, it's all. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody how commercial it is now. It's all about buying shit and consumerism, but it's just funny because people that are so hardcore Christian, like I said earlier, they would just lose their minds if they knew that. Like everything about Christianity is just um,
It's
a hodgepodge,
it,
like smattering of pagan stuff. Like it's
yeah, it's stolen. It's all appropriated. And the
there you
thing
go.
that's funny. This is a weird concept, but you know how I talk about how I think because I like to read the Abrahamic holy books and also like the Talmud and Torah. Uh, you know how I always said that like Yahweh was a soul devouring demon, and the Lucifer in it is actually trying to dethrone him because he's a monster, right?
Right.
He's trying to. The Bible is basically propaganda, you know. God, what was I? Oh, I was gonna say that the Catholic Church had appropriated all of this pagan stuff, and they say that have Christian people start to have possessions when they do stuff that's unchristian, right? But
Right.
you never see people that aren't Christian have possessions doing the same kind of shit. And by basically by appropriating all these pagan things, the Catholic Church perverted something that was good. They perverted it. And people get raised in the church, and when there's something there that might free them from that from being a sheep, something in them starts to fuck with them and they freak out. So they call a priest, have a priest come, and they give whoever's possessed some Jesus to quiet down whatever's fucking with them because they're like addicted to the religion or something.
That's crazy.
I'm just coming up with this right now, dude.
That's the thing, man. Like, just going back to your upbringing. I mean, this has been embedded in your system. You're like born into this, right? And
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's just, I mean, people don't want to. They don't want their systems questioned or challenged. They don't want to. And we're. It just goes beyond religion too. It's just if you're comfortable in something, the 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 thing to do, the instinctual thing to do is stay in that comfort zone. Like you don't want to be pulled out
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So
With a lot of things, yeah, we are creatures of habit and comfort. Yeah, I mean, we all need our box to lick our wounds in, but it's when that box you try to put your whole universe in that box, it gets kind of weird.
yeah, and if it gets challenged, then oh man, hold on. And so and
Anything to stop cognitive dissonance, anything.
right, I just want to hey, give me my TV and my beer and my couch and leave me alone. You know, I'll just be a drone to society.
Oh, Jesus.
And so actually that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like you don't, to me, in my mind, you don't live in that state. You have a very different way of living. You have a very distinct outlook that you're not part of
Yes.
the system. You're like unplugged.
No, 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 no. It's like the way I tell people, like people, how identity politics are really in right now? It's like this is like a amped up version of the 80s. This is everything RoboCop warned us
Oh boy,
about.
we didn't listen.
Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah. I tell people that I was raised in a way that would help me to find like holes or weak spots in the armor of um political or not political of group ideology for the means of exploitation for survival. Did that make sense? Yeah, that made sense. So, like, I learned, like, I know how to weave my way through bureaucracies and those kinds of machines that are there just to muck everything down. I think that's what a lot of life has turned into, actually, is just, yeah, it's like jumping through hoops for fucking everything.
It just it's so weird because like when I slow down, I start thinking about this thing. It just feels like there is a, I don't know, like I don't want to sound sinister, but like it feels like there's an effort to suppress people from unplugging from the system, or
Oh, there's a
for
straight up. Have you seen like the kind of shit they put on like church signs?
oh
There's
yeah, I
some
mean it's
crazy
all like
shit.
subjectivism and I don't want to get into myself, right, too much,
Yeah,
but I came from a very hardcore Catholic slash Christian background, and all I knew was
yeah.
subjectivity. Like I was always apologizing for something. I was never good
You
enough.
never came across as somebody who was actually, and
Well,
I'm usually good at gauging people, but I never you never like once.
well,
Yeah,
thankfully, it was because martial arts essentially got me out of there. I mean, I was man, I would have been doomed to be probably your
an
average
unhappy
churchgoer.
drone.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a drone, but I'm at least aware of what I'm doing versus
Mm-hmm.
you know, forcing a family for the sake of doing it because that's what Jesus wants, and just not thinking for myself. And I think we might parallel back to where we first started. Like martial arts got me out of there, specifically ninjutsu, and without taking too much of the floor here. I think you know the story, but like there was a time when I was super depressed, super just nothing was. I don't know. I wasn't suicidal, but I was as close as you can get. I just was not a
You were
happy
like
person.
numb.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and like I got back into martial arts because I remembered as a kid I enjoyed it. So I was like, I'm gonna try kung
Yeah,
fu, and I loved it. And I'm like, I'm gonna try
yeah.
taekwondo, and I loved it. And that's where I met you. And I'm gonna try taijutsu, and I really love that. And I really fell in love with like the philosophy and the writings, and the lore. And one of the girls that I had dated, I wasn't dating her at the time, but I had dated her in the past. She told me she's a born again Christian. Yikes! She
Yeah,
was so freaked out that I was engaged in a martial arts. She swore up and down that I was going to go to hell, that I was participating in demonic ritual.
you see the connection. They see that.
Yeah,
They see that connection, and yeah. But keep going on. Go on.
no, she freaked me the hell out. Like I really thought for a second that I was going to hell, and I thought, man, this is not cool, man. I found something really good. You know, this is
Yeah.
like better than any drug I could ever try. I
Mm-hmm.
love this. How could this be bad? And I remember just one time thinking, and thank God, I still talk like I'm Catholic, but I thank the gods, right? That I just said, you
Yeah.
know what, this shit makes me feel good. I feel terrible following the way I'm supposed to. If it's bad,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, I don't care. I'll go to hell. In the meantime, I'm
You
gonna
see how
enjoy
it tries to pervert? It tries to suppress your sexuality. It tries to suppress
everything.
your attempts at expression. It tries to suppress your soul's ability to evolve, which is why we're all fucking here, pretty much. One of the reasons. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it's we're here so the cosmos can know itself. It's that Cohen. If a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Yeah.
The answer to that is no, it doesn't. If there's nothing there to acknowledge it, it's not there because there's nothing there to acknowledge it in that closed system. You get what I'm saying?
I do, and it's funny because I'm trying to think of the book that I read. I think by Scott Adams, because he literally it's a book that he wrote that is it's a conversation between um, this guy. I think he's like a UPS delivery driver, and he delivers this package to this old man, and it's just a conversation about like just life, like what life, the meaning of life, the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
God's debris. That's what it's called. It's called God's debris, and it is it's interesting. The premise is this man has some kind of like just outlook on life that he just knows everything, and he's lecturing the reader through the character,
He
and
does know everything, or he thinks he does.
For the artist or from the author's perspective, yeah, he's just like he
Okay.
calls himself an avatar.
Okay.
I'm not really familiar with that term. Like, I kind of threw me off when I read it, but essentially what it was, it gets to the point where God.
Jesus was an avatar. There you go.
Okay, so
Exactly.
that's essentially what he was. He was like a conduit speaking to the cosmos on behalf of the
Mhm.
cosmos, and he was basically saying the premise is that the universe, God, the universe, i.e., God, is so powerful and so omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent that it decided the only thing for it to do is to blow itself up and have it experience itself through the perspective of us, essentially.
Mhm.
And it's weird.
Yes.
It backs up what you're saying. So
Mhm.
it's a good read. It's real quick. I think it's like less than 100 pages, and it shocked me because Scott Adams, like, he does Dilbert, the comic. I didn't think he was
Yeah.
capable of such depth, but I must not know the man very well, because it's really good. And going back to just,
Dilbert is a good. It is a good comic.
it probably is.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of that stuff just flew over my head as a kid. But it goes
Yeah.
back to challenging, the status quo. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, it's there. If you want to deviate from the norm, if you want to start thinking freely, it's there. And the more you do it, the more encouragement or nudges I feel like you get from something I don't understand. Like, for example,
Yeah.
the way this conversation is going, like, you were talking
Mhm.
about things that I have come across in the past, but it's coming so quickly and easily. It's like we're meant to have this conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I can't refute it. So
yeah.
yeah, all this stuff is cool.
Well,
Um, the other thing I was gonna say, remember I said that we're a way for the cosmos to know itself. The other part is that we're here to evolve. This world is a school, and in a form, and a corporeal form, you don't have a body. If you're a spirit, you can't learn anything because you can't really do anything. So that's another reason you go through here to evolve to whatever's next. And that concept too is one that just makes sense to me. It goes with that. But yeah.
so let's go back. I talked about how I came into, I don't want to say the occult, but I started thinking freely, for lack of better words. But you were born into it. But how did martial arts tie in? Was that just like the next step that your
Um,
parents put you through, or how did that happen?
with martial arts?
Yeah. So how did that, like, how does it tie in with martial arts and you? Like, how did that happen?
Damn. When did I find? I think I found a connection between the two when I had been doing kung fu, and I remember seeing uh, the not kamidanas. I don't know what they call it in Chinese. It's a spirit house that that goes on the wall. That's got it's like in Japanese. It has the paper and the rope, and there'll be a picture with a kanji or a person's photo, or it'll be an actual house. You know what I'm talking about? And it has it's like an altar, but it's a little different. I saw that at two of the places, one person's house, and I trained at Fong's for a while. I don't know if you've ever been there, but he has a big one.
Yeah,
And
big name in martial arts in Tucson.
yeah, yeah, he's I don't know if his place is still there. He also teaches the dragon dancing, which is cool, with
Hmm.
that big ass dragon. Um, yeah, I saw those, and I made a connection there, and I saw connections when I read about war history, and that like the job of the magus, like in Alexander's army and in the Persians' armies, and also Shintoism. I got into martial arts. It came like in a roundabout way. I got into martial arts, which got me into ninjutsu, which got me interested in Shintoism, which I then saw paganism, and like I realized that there was that connection there, and it just kind of built like that. Like there was more and more bridges
Hmm.
started building like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where it's like, hey, it's just a matter of time before you fell into this, I guess, for lack of better words. Um, I mean, there's so many things that have come up. Like, so I'm thinking like the ninja boom. I'm thinking mainstream
Oh
martial
shit,
arts.
the Ronstadt. I just talked about the Ronstadt.
Yeah, I mean, we can let's actually get into that. So because like the thing is, it's one thing to talk martial arts. It's one thing to film yourself doing
This shit
martial arts
is cool.
moves, but you actually have applications. Like in the previous conversation, we talked about like you were a stunt double, or no, you were a stunt man. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
that's like,
At Old Tucson, that wasn't for very long though.
but you
That
still,
wasn't even for a full year. But I mean, I did it.
yeah,
So
you still did it. So I mean, let's
yeah.
talk about Ronstadt. So what happened? Just walk me through it.
All right. This was on. It was September 19th or 18th of last year. Okay. I'm pretty sure it was the 19th. It happened between 10:50 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. The only reason I know this is because when I stood up, the next thing I did is look at my watch at the time. I don't know why I did it, but I did anyway. Uh, the 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 reason I was out there was I had to get something. My mom needed something, so I went out and picked it up for her, and I was on my way back. And I was sitting at the Ronstadt. It's full of people. I think it was like a Monday. It was a weekday, so there's a lot of people out there. There's over 100 people, easy. It's downtown Tucson. And I was sitting there in front of the bus 12 where it pulls up, and I heard two dudes talking shit to each other behind me. I didn't really care because I just wanted to get home. And then I heard two girls yelp from directly behind me, and that made me look back. And there's this skinny white kid holding a a handgun, semi-auto handgun, stretched straight forward, pointing at this other dude who looked like he's like a bald Hispanic dude, also thin. They looked like they were like 18, 19. And I see them both standing there, and I I stand up, look at my watch, look back, and they're still standing there. And it seems like they were standing there forever because they were probably like 20 feet away from me. Instead of walking straight to them, I turned left and made this U. Like I made a U, so I was walking up from behind him. So he's pointing the gun, and I'm walking from behind him the direction he's pointing. And I walk up on the side of the gun and duck down like I'm trying to duck and get out of the way. And I just like spin my body around so I'm facing him. And I hit with the palm of my hand. I hit the hilt of the gun that he's holding up so that the line of fire is away from people. I didn't want it pointing at people. There's people everywhere. And so I lifted it up and I just waited for him to bring it in. He brought it in, and I did a disarm. It was basically a mote gyaku or kotogaishi, they call it in Aikido. It's where you twist.
It's like manipulating the wrist.
Yeah, you twist the wrist. With a gun, there's a certain way that you do it that makes it so when you roll their wrist, if they hold on to the gun, it will, as you turn it towards them, they will pull the trigger. And they know this, so they let go.
Yeah, instinctively, like I don't want this pointed at me.
Exactly. So that's what I did. As he went down, I did it. He let right go of it. And as soon as he let go, he said, "Hey, you can't do that. I'm allowed to have that." And he actually stunned me. Like, I mean, I was about to put him down, but I wasn't expecting that shit. Like, and he said it all whiny, just like that, like whiny. And it just it stunned me, but I just kept moving and pulled the slide back because hadn't held a gun in 2 decades, right? And I had this gun in my hand and it was so light. I was like, this has got to be a fucking toy. And I pulled the slide back, and sure enough, a bullet pops out, and it was so quiet you could hear the bullet hit the thing, like when ting ting ting, like it was all quiet.
It's like a little pin drop, but except the bullet.
Exactly. Yeah, at least that's how it sounded, like to me. And then after I did that, he interjects again with, "What would you do if someone sucker punched you?" I did not make eye contact with this guy at all. I didn't care about that. All I cared about was the gun. And I was about to, you know how you just push the thumb part down for the clip to drop?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I was about to do that, but then he said that to me. And I was like, first thing I thought was I wouldn't fucking murder him, to hit him back or something. I don't
Yeah.
say anything, and I just think this dude is not a fucking threat. This guy ain't shit. So I hold the gun in the most like limp-wristed way. I swear I did this, and I hold it in this limp-wristed fashion, and hand like
to like
just
mock him
hand it
or
to him. Yeah, and I hand it to
nice.
him, and when he takes it, I swivel around so my back is completely facing away, and I just start walking. I don't even look back, and there's all those people there. And I'm walking, and I see the other guy kind of trotting along, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna ask him what's going on. I'm like, hey, bro, wait, what's going on? And he just takes off, boom, just fucking sprints. I was like, smart dude. And I was like, why didn't you just do that in the first place? And I turn around and to go back to the other guy, and the other guy was gone too, and the chicks were gone.
Oh, jeez.
So I just went and sat right back down where I was sitting, waiting for the bus, and I'm expecting like, you know, cars to swoop up, all code 3 and shit, blueberries and cherries. One bike cop comes, you know, just kind of pedaling along, and he's like, "Are you the guy who disarmed the gunman?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again. I shouldn't have done it." And then he was like, I was thinking in my head, his gunman is kind of giving him a little bit too much credit, but I'm not going to say that. And he asked, he's all, well, just give me a description. He smiled and I said that. And I described him the best I could. And he's like, all right. And then he went and talked to other people. Bus came and I took off. Oh, and another point, when I was walking away, when I had given the gun back to him and was walking away, there was this kid sitting like right next to my path, on like just sitting hunched over in the chair in the bench, and he looks at me and like he was spitting vitriol at me or something. He's like, "You're gonna get fucking shot," right? Trying to be like a badass. And I looked at him and smiled, and I just thought in my head, I was like, dude, you're right next to me, and we're downrange. He just has to move like an eighth or 16th of a millimeter, and he's gonna hit you. And it's like it was funny to me. And another thing that was weird is during the 90s, when somebody pulled out a gun, everybody ran and hit the deck. This time people came in closer. Like I saw people come in.
That's counterintuitive by
yeah, I know. And I have yet to see anybody who has it on video. And I don't believe nobody got it on video. I mean, I know the Ronstadt has it. I'm trying to figure out
how to obtain it.
Get those. Yeah, because that literally, I literally lived out male power fantasy. That's what that was. And I feel robbed that I don't have footage.
Say you literally lived out of what?
Huh?
You literally lived out what?
A male power fantasy. Male power fantasy. You know, like in comic books or whatever. Like
the hero.
Somebody, yeah, like in the 80s action movies, they'd always have a beginning. It would always start in a grocery store. You know, the dude's shopping, and then some crazy fuckers come in with all loaded to the teeth. Motherfucker, and then he ends up fucking them all. You know, the stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Unrealistic shit. I mean, that shit was just. I don't know, man. The reason I did it is because I knew what to do, I guess.
So.
Well, what? Go ahead. Sorry.
So when you're telling that story, it sounds like you kind of just went on autopilot. Like you just started doing things without really thinking. Is that true?
No, I was thinking things. It was kind of weird. Like my thinking became compartmentalized. Like it was like, you know, check area, check space, choices, and then, you know, once you get closer, again, check area, check space, like area meaning people around, and then the space that, you know, is gonna you're gonna be moving in.
Right.
And then And then once you get to like that the fray, that's when you can't do thinking anymore. Thinking's not a choice. The only reason I was able to think like that is because I I've been in fucked up situations like that before. That's the only reason. It's you know what I mean?
So maybe you didn't go on autopilot, but you were very like I want to say like linear thinking, like very logical. Like most people would be like, "Oh my god, he's got a gun. Oh my god, I don't want to die. I don't want to get hurt. I gotta get out of here." Or I guess the reverse, like, "Oh my god, he's got a gun. Let's go see what's happening." Like they're not thinking how to neutralize the situation. They're not thinking self preservation. They're not thinking how do I put this
Yeah.
guy down. Whereas you just kind of went
Most of these people don't know how. They have no clue how to deal with that. You know.
right.
You know, and honestly, I probably should have ran away or some shit, but it was just one of those days, man.
Today's the day.
Yeah, shit. I'm glad nobody got hurt though. I think part of the reason I put on the show was because these guys were young and they were standing like that for a long period of time. So I think that neither of them knew what to do.
Maybe that's like kind of waiting for somebody to stop them before
Yeah,
somebody did
I
something
think
really
that.
stupid.
I think that. But if that did happen, like it was. If I hadn't done anything, then what would it, I think this actually ends up happening a lot is the dude ends up pulling the trigger because as you're as a kid you haven't really experienced that kind of existential defeat, you know,
Yeah.
and you'll do stupid things to not experience it, which that's a totally different topic, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah,
that makes sense because like it's shoot, everybody's watching me. I got my gun pointed at this guy. Everyone's expecting me to pull the trigger. Otherwise, I'm a coward. I'm a bitch, and
exactly. Yeah, and you know what else? Toxic masculinity weighs into that too,
exactly, which
and
is
that
sad.
shit is yeah.
No, it's sad because to take a life or to jeopardize a life or do something stupid like that because of how people you don't even know are going to think of you is
I
ridiculous.
know,
And
right? I know. You shouldn't care about that at all. You lose all your power. All real agency is lost when you judge yourself by public opinion. By others' viewpoints of you. I don't know how celebrities do it. Their whole existence is based on the jeers of
well,
millions.
they don't do it. Like
Fuck.
some of them freak out. They end up in rehab. They end up doing drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people can't handle not so much the spotlight, but being out of it. That validates their whole. Like I cannot. I don't know how bad this is going to sound, but I pray for the day when the Kardashians are no longer relevant and they actually have to work for a fucking living. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of people just being handed shit because they are the loudest or because they just so happen to have.
Those people are aristocrats. They'll rest on their laurels. They'll just never be happy.
Well,
You
that's the
know.
thing is like why enhance that? Why rub our faces in it? Like that's showing people that you deserve to have everything handed to you. And like it's just they'll be. I hope I'm alive when the time comes when we as a society wake up and be like, you know what, the Kardashians aren't
Hmm.
shit. They
Yeah.
they they aren't doing anything. They contribute no value at all to
You know what?
society, and they got to
That's just.
freaking what's that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, they just have to work for a living. They just have to actually have to
Yeah.
accomplish something. I'm
Yeah. You gotta do some shit.
yeah,
Yep.
like Bruce Jenner. What was he like a tennis athlete? So he did something. Good for
He's a
him.
runner. He's an Olympic runner, wasn't he? Or
Yeah,
was he
there you
tennis?
go.
One
Yeah,
of those.
he was a runner. So good for him. He did something. But what the hell
Yeah.
have your kids done other than just mooch off you and create this awful trend where we're all
Shallow ass shit.
yeah, and we're all judged on our likes, our Instagram portfolios and our profiles, excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, and all this stuff, which is a good segue into me asking again, talking about how you are, in my opinion, unplugged from the system. So how do you exist and not give a shit about public opinion? Like we're all thinking. I'm thinking
I
Ronstadt.
stay in my room all the time.
Hey, I mean, if that's how you do it, I guess that's one way
That's
to do
really
it.
sad.
It is, but at
Um,
the same time, it's. I don't think it is. I mean, shit, man. If it works out for you, then all the
honestly,
more
it's
power to
gotten to
you.
the point where I don't give a fuck about public opinion if it's like on topics because I know most people are pretty goddamn uninformed. What they say usually informs me of how informed they are. Other than that, I mean, I care about being polite in society. Like, I mean, I know how to act in society and stuff, but as far as people's opinions, they've just become more. Everybody's polarized, and it's like this cult. It's not even identity politics anymore. It's like this idea. What am I? Like an identity cult or something. Like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of want to I don't want to dig into this. I mean, like I said earlier, this conversation can go everywhere, and there's all kinds of tangents I want to dive into. But the good thing is we can resume at any time. But um, it was kind of prefaced with just how you're different. So starting over again, like what do you tell yourself? For someone that might be listening that's still like, oh man, I care so much about what mom and dad think. I care so much about what so and so think. I'm not happy, but I'm going to keep doing what society expects of me. What do you tell yourself? Like, how do you just give that the finger? You know what I mean?
Um, you have to have had enough with being unhappy. Like I was taught to never stay in a situation that makes me unhappy or makes me sick or feels wrong, and I kind of stuck with that, and that going with intuition has worked for me. There's actually an intelligence to intuition, and the only way that you're really gonna exercise it is by using it. If you say it's bullshit all the time, it's not going to help you, and refuse to be unhappy. And most people stay in unhappy situations because they have no choice, but it's usually from choices they made or choices they made. So you've got to find a way to break free within whatever system you're in, using whatever means you have. Like, and as far as not caring what other people think, the people the only people that you should care about their opinion is like family and people that show you love and support you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody else, if you don't know a motherfucker, it's like, shit, I don't know you. You say whatever you want. Shit. I mean, it's pretty it's pretty to the point. If you're not doing something because you're afraid to, and we were talking about, remember how I said I was having trouble doing the interview, and I was putting it off, and I told you it was like jumping in a pool when it's cold, or getting in a pool when it's cold. Like you're like, you're timid about it. The best thing to do is to plunge in. That decisiveness should be with everything. So it's like, it's that, oh wow, that gives to swordsmanship decisiveness. You're cut. There shouldn't be any hesitation on it from launch to finish. And when you finish that cut, whatever consequence comes with that cut you made is yours.
So you just gotta kind of take the leap and let come what may, and just maybe not look back, don't regret it, just keep moving forward.
Yeah, if you think it's the right thing, or if it's going to work in the way that you want it to. And yeah, and you have to learn how to spot toxicity. I got really good at that through addiction and through the homelessness, especially the addiction. You learn how, because what happens with addiction when you're running in trap houses and everything's all fucked up, is everyone's personalities are magnified, like to the point where they're caricatures of themselves. And through that, I kind of figured out how to read people a little bit. And I don't remember how that applies to what we're talking about. Fuck. Sorry.
No worries. And it's I feel like you just, it's like you said with the jumping in the pool and what we were talking about earlier offline is like you just have to do it. You have to,
Yeah. That
you have to,
decisiveness. There you go.
yeah. And I think that's something that gets better over time. And in your situation, to go through the stuff that you have, and see the things you've seen, I think I don't want to say it's easy. It's really easy for me to say for you, right? To speak on your behalf. But I think when you are exposed to certain hardships, you tend to care less and less about what other people say because they don't know anything. They don't know you. Um,
Exactly. They don't know what your story is. They don't know where you're at in it. Yeah. And a lot of people, they're honestly, I like the concept of the term NPC for people, because I really think some people, like, there's a certain level of awareness to different people. There's no method to the madness. Some people are just more aware than others, and fuck, I'm having trouble re- coming back to what I was talking about. Shit. Um, what did you just say right now?
just that people don't know your story. They don't know you.
There we go. Yeah, a lot of people are judging you based on a whole bunch of uninformed assumptions. Like, it doesn't matter to them. Most people, it's yeah. Most of their assumptions are handed to them. It's we live. There's a lot of tribalism going on, but people are like that. People are social animals, so it's gonna happen, I guess. But because I know that a lot of what people think, you know, is not really worth much. And another point about what people think is, if you act on how people think, you're giving them your power. You're giving them power, and you're giving it to them over some petty bullshit. You know what I mean?
I like that
So
actually.
yeah, you should be picky in who you give your power to. You know.
Yeah.
So, and on also, the biggest insult you can give to somebody is ignoring them. So there's, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because that also reminds me of what that guy was talking to you. You know, he was like just completely in awe that you took the gun from him and you just like ignored him, and he was just like losing his mind. He was like just
Yeah,
kind
that
of
shit
falling
was so
apart.
weird.
Yeah, but and that's the thing is like if and in their instance too, like they had a little altercation. It did not need to evolve to somebody getting killed or a gun
Hmm.
put on them, but because they gave their power to the crowd that was watching them, it made them do
Hmm.
something that they didn't want to do, and it could have been far
Hmm.
worse. But then here you come
And
in, you like
uh
hacked into the system a little bit. You just said, no, I'm gonna be this weird NPC that just comes in and takes the gun away, and I'm not gonna play
yep.
by your rules. I'm not gonna acknowledge you, and you're gonna fall
Uh-huh.
apart as a result.
Yeah, because he has no, for what I went in there and did, he had nothing to go on, nothing. And I also know, how I have my black fingernail polish on
Yeah.
the left hand? Well, when I took it, he saw that. I know he saw that, and that probably tripped him out even more. Like, who the fuck is I? Shit was so funny, man.
Yeah, it's just
Uh,
it's the unexpected, and when you do stuff like that, it's jarring, and it makes people just kind of like it for a second pulls them out of their it just pulls them out of their zone, and stuff doesn't make sense, and when it doesn't make sense, they just kind of freeze, and they're like, I don't know what to do right now.
mhm.
Like what is
Yeah,
happening? You're not supposed to do that, and he literally
the
said that,
reason
didn't he?
exactly.
He literally said you're
Hmm.
not supposed to do that.
Asymmetrical warfare,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that is shoot, that is
Oh
a
shit.
freaking wormhole
What
in and
was
of
I gonna?
itself.
What was I gonna say? There was something about that. Is that what that is? Is that right? Was I right? Is that asymmetrical warfare? That just popped in my head. Never
It's
mind.
more like unconventional. Asymmetrical warfare is
Unconventional.
more like, hey, we're gonna bomb the crap out of Iraq, but then they're gonna attack us with like homemade bombs.
Oh, IEDs. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they're not meeting
Uh,
us on the on the open like we would want. You know,
yeah.
they're
Okay.
doing different. It's so ironic
Yeah.
because that's how we won against the British. You know, that they're pissed off that we were hiding behind
Mhm.
trees and we were doing all this like
Mhm.
guerrilla tactic stuff, but that's why we won. And now we're getting mad at other countries doing the exact same thing to us. Like, yeah, meet us out in the open battlefield with our tanks and our jets, No, you're gonna hide behind civilians and you're gonna hide in buildings. Okay, that's not fair. It doesn't work that way.
You know, you know what else? The other reason why I was able to manipulate that situation so well is because two things. When with my knowledge of martial arts and with what I know about dealing with people, your aim is to neutralize. It's not to defeat. I don't even, with all of those situations, fists coming to fists is not even. I wasn't even thinking about it. I keep my hands open.
Hmm.
If I have to hit somebody, it'll be like a chop or just a backhand. I'm not gonna make fists. For a bunch of reasons. Remember how I talked about how when two people fight, they both go to jail.
Right.
Well,
Regardless of
there's
who's
that.
right.
There's that, and then there's if you're squaring up with someone and you're trying to fight them, then you have to worry about your blocks and throwing your punches, right? If you're just focused on like neutralizing, all you have to do is move, block, and grab and trap. That's all you have to do. And as long as they play the game, which they will, for long enough for you, you will have a good, like, solid, two joint kind of spot where you trap them. And yeah. So the reason I want to bring that up is, yeah, the neutralizing is important now for martial arts. It's not like, oh, this attacker comes, kick him in the balls and fucking gouge his eye out and then fish hook his cheek off. It's not even hitting him. It's like, the guy comes, you gotta, be able to take that shit from him, pin him on the floor, fucking call the police, or just, trip him out so you can take off. And yeah, like,
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
no, I like when I'm thinking of ninjutsu and why I liked it so much is because it is asymmetrical warfare. It's you are basically willing to do whatever you need to do to go back home to your family. You're back in the day, these farmers, these impoverished priests that lived up in the mountains, they just wanted to live their own lives, and they're not
Yes.
gonna. I guess in rare circumstances, and this is a whole nother episode or interview, whatever this is. They don't want to meet the samurai in the open battlefield because they would get murdered. So they would
Oh
fight
hell
differently.
yeah.
Yeah, they would fight.
They're armored people.
Yeah, they would cheat. They would go run up alongside you. They'd come up from behind. They would do all these things that people don't expect. And if you went to that gunman and you squared up with him, that guy would have shot you. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
you took like I said, man, you like hacked into something. Now I'm not saying like you hacked into the quantum realm, right, and manipulated things, but you violated what I think is what most people think is a way of behavior. And it worked
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think
Combat magic is in play there. It is in play,
yeah, that
definitely. But
psychological. I mean, there's so much stuff that happened, and to break that down even further. But yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely pocket that for another time. Because I do want to wrap this up.
okay, all right, all right.
But yeah, I think yeah, definitely to be continued.